numbers, and you'll all be friending each other in the future in the real way. This week is supposed to be about building a relational movement, and it hasn't always been adequate space for doing it, but we're trying to find a way there. This week in the Word and World track, we have attempted to look at the Word and the world through the lens of economics, and the focus on Tuesday was appropriately local and regional, looking at the story of Detroit, past, present, and future, as a sort of parable to be learned, as an object lesson to be studied, as in some ways a warning tale, in other ways a role model. That's good pedagogy to look at the universal through the lens of particularity. I think the Social Forum was wise to have that as the entry point to the analysis of this week. The focus yesterday was also appropriately, particularly in the belly of the empire, to look beyond our familiar context to the international context, and look at the way in which the same conditions which are intensifying here are well down the track around the world. And so for us here yesterday in this warm, cozy room, that meant looking at the Jubilee movement, past, present, and future, and a lot of the faith-based work around globalization. It's also appropriate that the third move in this pedagogy try to figure out ways for us to bring this home, literally. What does this mean for us? What does this mean for me? And that is our focus today, to try to see what Sabbath economics can mean at the places where all of the things we're talking about and the level of structural analysis out there, all of the anecdotes that we hear and feel about how things are and how bad they are, how all that stuff intersects concretely with my life, with our lives. So, how are we feeling about the Gulf oil spill right about now? Despair, disgust, heartache, I think is what I'm seeing here. Outrage, helpless, sad. I just want us to feel the weight of these affects, these expressions. There's a great women's band from Australia called Vic and Linda, and they sing a folk tune also written by another Australian bard. And the refrain of the song is, we started a fire that we can't put out. This oil spill is a cosmic slick in which we are being invited to see ourselves and the civilizational crisis that we are in. We've tapped a well we can't stop. Now, there's lots to say about the complexity of the oil economy and the profound ambiguity of advanced technology, and about peak oil, and about collapsing ecosystems, and all of that. And that's why it takes us to the Social Forum 500,638 workshops to try to get a handle on it all. But there's also, sometimes, a lot of the Social Forum is about making the relatively simple things are messed up, complicated. And we've been going to all these workshops and seeing how complicated it is. And there's a time for that in organizing, and then there's also expression of making complicated things simple has been offered to us by Wendell Berry, who some 20 years ago, in an essay called Home Economics, put it this way, which to my mind, as the Quakers say, speaks to our condition of heartache and outrage and helplessness and paralysis as we think about the oil slick that is the mirror of our condition. And what Wendell Berry said is the great obstacle is simply this. Now I think we ought to all say this together. The great obstacle is simply this. The conviction that we cannot change because we are dependent upon what is wrong. Can somebody say? Yes. Part of the heartache and the outrage and the paralysis all bums up inside us as this oil gushes and gushes and gushes is that every day we get in our cars or turn on our air conditioning that are dependent upon that which is so profoundly wrong. And I think the genius of this simple analysis, and what I want to commend to us pedagogically, is that it's the truth. We are, in fact, deeply, profoundly dependent upon what is wrong, and we're beginning to see just how wrong it is. But we also need to see just how dependent we are. It's the truth. But it's also an excuse for doing nothing. And that, Berry says, is the addict's excuse. And it will not suffice. We cannot settle for it. Not as a nation, and surely not as a church, community of faith. So today's work really is about our struggle against the great addictions. It's no accident, friends, that in the last half century or more, the most popular, widespread, to the point of being ubiquitous, form of popular spirituality in North America is the 12-step program. Because individuals are coming to terms with ways in which they are captive to that which is killing them. And how many of you are part of churches that somewhere in that church building at some time during the week there's a 12-step group going on? How many of you are either yourselves working a program or know dear friends or family who are working a program? All right? Now, that's... I would submit that the epidemic of the personal pathology of addiction, which we can also define as the state of not being able to say no, or the state of too much of a good thing, is, like that oil slick, a mirror of our civilizational crisis. And so it is deeply instructive for us to work a little bit with that lens as a way of looking at, particularly in this case, the pathology of too muchness in economic terms, which was named a few years ago in the popular public broadcasting service series as affluenza. Affluenza is this economic state in which some folk have too much, and it's directly related to the other side of the economic coin, which is some folk not having enough. In other words, people are rich because people are poor. And the inverse also is true. People are poor because people are rich. Or as Tevin so eloquently put it, right about the middle of her presentation today, citing Gandhi famously, who said, "There's enough for everybody's need, there is not." enough for everybody to breathe. So, as the children of affluenza, which all of us in some shape or form are, otherwise we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be mobile enough to be here. I want to just work with this a little bit with you. And I want to work on it through the lens of one of the strangest texts in our scriptural tradition. Y'all know this one. And it's amazing that you do know it because don't nobody preach on it. I know many of you have various attitudes